Hello and welcome to Camp and Shoot. I'm Stephen Sheriff with Crew 82 here in Norman, Oklahoma. And today we're going to be talking about the rifle and shotgun shooting merit badges. There's 3 videos in this series. Video 1 pertains to both shotgun and rifle shooting. Video 2 will pertain to rifle shooting merit badge. And video 3 focuses on the shotgun shooting merit badge. Everybody needs to watch video 1, and then you can watch your merit badge specific video, either 2 or 3. Before we get started, I'd like to thank Tri-City Gun Club for hosting this great event. The videos and the supplemental links will answer all of the questions for the merit badge worksheets. Please fill them out electronically, and if possible, email them back to us at crew82.norman@gmail.com. If you're unable to fill them out electronically, please bring a legible copy with you. Answers filled out when you arrive. All scouts participating in the merit badge will also take a short quiz and must show during the shooting parts of the badge that they understand and follow the rules and fundamentals learned in these videos. All links and fillable PDFs will be provided by email to the Scoutmaster for them to distribute to the scouts taking the merit badges. So the orientation goal for these videos are to provide the beginning shooters with the knowledge, skills, and attitudes necessary to shoot a rifle or shotgun safely under the direct supervision of an NRA certified instructor. And as a gun owner, we have some responsibilities, because as Americans, we enjoy a right that citizens of other countries do not, and that allows us to own firearms. But with this right comes responsibilities. It's the gun owner's responsibility to store, operate, and maintain his or her firearm safely. It's the gun owner's responsibility to ensure that unauthorized or untrained individuals cannot gain access to his or her firearms. And it's the gun owner's responsibility to learn and obey all applicable laws that pertain to the purchase, possession, and use of a firearm in his or her area. Guns are neither safe nor unsafe by themselves. When gun owners learn and practice responsible gun ownership, guns are safe. So we're going to talk about the main parts of a long gun at first. And a long gun is nothing but a shotgun or a rifle. So there's 3 main parts. The first part is the action, which is the group of moving parts used to load, fire, and unload a rifle. And then we have a barrel, and we have a stock. And these are just, like I said earlier, these are just the basic parts, and we're going to cover in more detail in each of the merit badge specific sections. And there's one other part that I would like to point out that's part of the barrel, and it's the muzzle. And this is the part that the projectile leaves the firearm at. And a firearm is just a tool designed to shoot the projectile to hit where the barrel is pointed. So let's move on and see what we need to know before we select our first firearm. So as we go to the store, we start researching what firearm we would like to purchase and shoot. There's several different questions that one might ask themselves before they bought that first firearm. The first one is, what's the intended use of the firearm? What are you going to do with it? You know, you wouldn't want to purchase a hunting rifle to shoot competitively, or a competitive rifle to go hunt with. They've got different uses. They've got different weights that may be too heavy to carry around out in the field while you're trying to hunt with. So, and you know, you might be wanting to shoot skeet with a shotgun, and a rifle's not going to do that. So what's the intended use of the firearm? What's your price and your budget that you can afford for the firearm? You know, you need to know what that is before you can start looking at different models or different firearms. The availability and price of the ammunition. You might be able to afford the firearm, but can you afford the ammunition that it's going to take to shoot? Or is it available? Maybe it's an off-caliber shell that is hard to find, and then you wouldn't be able to shoot it because you may not be able to find the ammo as often as you would like. Fit and ergonomics. Does it fit you? Is it the right side? Is it the right gun? Is it a right-handed gun if you're a right-handed shooter, and a left-handed gun if you're a left-handed shooter? Um, does it overall size and weight? Is it the right size for you? You know, you're not trying to take a really large shotgun if a youth model might be the better model for you, or on the other side, if you're a bigger adult and you may not be able to shoot comfortably or accurately with a youth model firearm. So you want to make sure that the size and weight of the firearm fits you. The recoil of the firearm. You want to make sure that it's not too much that it's gonna hurt, so you don't want to shoot it. The simplicity of operation and the ease of cleaning. You know, you may find the right firearm, but then find out it takes an hour to clean it, and you may not want to have to clean it every time, and then you don't keep it and maintain it. So, or it's really hard to operate and function, and you just want something to go out and have fun with and do some target shooting, then maybe you want a little bit easier gun that's easier to shoot and clean. These next 3 or 4 all go in together. You have the reputation of the manufacturer, the reliability record of the make and the model, the warranty and guarantee, and availability of repair aftermarket parts. You know, those all are, you know, want to make sure that the manufacturer is reputable, and if they say it's a lifetime warranty, that it's truly a lifetime warranty, and they don't take, you know, 6 months or 8 months to repair a firearm. If it has to go out for repair, you can get those parts, that they stand behind their warranty and guarantee. And one of the most important questions is the safety. How safe is this firearm historically been on the internet? You can do a lot of research. You can also go to a local library and find books or magazines, a bookstore, a gun shop. Talk to your friends and neighbors that are interested in shooting. These are all great places for you to go get and know the features of the models that you're considering before you actually go out and purchase a firearm. Before we shoot, there's several things that we're going to have to learn and understand before we get the fun part of actually being on the range to shoot. There's 3 fundamental rules for safe gun handling. We'll cover them today several times, and we'll go over these when you arrive at the range. The fundamental rules for safe gun handling also have another name that we like to refer to them as the always rules. And those are, you always keep your gun pointed in the safe direction. And as you can see in this photo here, they've determined that the safe direction is down. But at the range at Tri-City, the safe direction is downrange or in the air. And safe direction simply means that the gun's muzzle is pointed in the direction so that if it were to go off, it will not cause injury or damage. And depending on where you're shooting, the safe direction can always change. So make sure you always know what a safe direction is whenever you're handling a firearm. The next rule for fundamental rules for safe gun handling is to always keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Never touch the trigger until you're actually ready to pull the trigger. Your finger is your primary safety, and the safety on a firearm is a mechanical safety that can and will fail. And the third rule of fundamental rules for gun safe handling is to always keep your gun unloaded until you're ready to use. Here at Tri-City Gun Club, we have open chamber indicators, so it's really easy to see when a firearm's unloaded, when it's not being used. At other places, they may require that, and some of them don't. So if you are ever picking up a firearm that doesn't have an open chamber indicator in there, and that's just something that goes into the chamber and down the barrel a little ways, that shows you that nothing else can be in there, so you know that that gun is unloaded. But if you're ever picking up a firearm and you don't know if it is unloaded, you always keep the firearm pointed in a safe direction. Make sure the safety is engaged if it has one. And then you want to remove any possible sources of ammunition, open the action, and look in the chamber and make sure there's nothing in there. And if you don't know how to do these steps, you need to leave the firearm alone and get some help from somebody who does. So these 3 always rules pertain to all types of shooting. rifles, shotguns, muzzle loading, BBs, pellets, etc. Any type of firearm that can send that projectile downrange can injure or cause damage. And by following these three always rules, it'll minimize any injuries or damages. And so to review them again real quick, we have always keep your gun pointed in a safe direction, always keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot, and always keep your gun unloaded until ready to use. Besides these three rules, there's some other protections that are used while participating in shooting sports, and some of those are hearing and eye protection, also called, sometimes referred to as eyes and ears. There's three different types of hearing protection. We have the earplugs, these foam earplugs. They're typically made of foam, and you can roll them between your fingers and place and hold them in the ear till they expand back and stay in place. While these are inexpensive, they are disposable and not intended to be reused like the next day. We have earmuffs. These fit over your head and cover your ears to block out the sound. They're more expensive than earplugs, but you can use the earmuffs and earplugs to increase your hearing protection if you need to. And the third type of hearing protection is an electronic hearing protection. And they use electronics to allow safe levels of sound through, but they automatically block out sound over a certain level. And these go on your ears, just like the earmuffs do, and cover your ears and help your hearing. Kind of like hearing protection, there's three main types of eye protection. You have full frames. It's a frame that wraps all the way around the lens. They offer good protection, but sometimes they're bulky and they tend to sometimes fog a lot. The next you have are half frames, and as you can see, they only have half a frame. They save a little bit of weight, but they give up a little bit of protection, but they do fog up a little less. And finally, we have goggles, which aren't the most fashionable choice, but they offer full protection and generally have a strap to help keep them attached to your head. So now we know about the always rules, hearing and eye protection. So let's talk a little bit about owning a firearm in Oklahoma. So you have to be 18 to purchase a long gun, a rifle or shotgun in Oklahoma, and 21 to purchase a handgun from a licensed dealer. And Oklahoma prohibits a person under the age of 18 from possessing a firearm, except for the participation in the hunting, education, and training, in the safe use and handling, target shooting, or any other shooting events or competitions. Now, when you're using a firearm, whether in hunting or recreation, training, or competition, you need to follow these rules along with the always rules. The first rule for using or storing a gun is to know your target and what is beyond. Be sure you identify your target beyond any doubt. Equally, be aware of what is behind your target and observe in that area where your projectile might land. You never want to fire in an unsafe direction. You got to think first and shoot second. Another rule is know how to use the firearm safely. Learn how it operates. Take a training session. I've always believed that most people do better with a less expensive firearm, but lots of training. So if you know the basic parts and how to safely open and close the action and how to remove the ammunition, remember, again, that the firearms safety is mechanical and it's never 100% fail-proof, and nothing can replace safe gun handling. Be sure the firearm is safe to operate. Just like other tools, firearms require regular maintenance to remain in good working order. Regular cleaning, proper repairs, and storage are all part of the firearm's general upkeep. If you have any questions about your firearm's ability to function correctly, have a gunsmith evaluate it before you use it. Use only the correct ammunition for your firearm. Only the ammunition for the gun is designed to shoot. You should shoot in it. And most firearms have the ammunition type stamped on the barrel. And the best practice with the ammunition is to store it in the box that it comes in, and don't mix ammunition types in the same box. A lot of times if you shoot ammunition in a gun that it's not designed to, it's going to cause damage to the firearm, or worse, cause injury to you or any bystanders. Another rule is to wear eye and hearing protection as appropriate. We just discussed the 3 types of those. The shots, when they're fired, they're loud and can cause permanent hearing damage for the shooters or bystanders. And also, when you shoot, it emits debris and hot gas that can injure your eyes. So wear hearing and eye protection. Never use alcohol or drugs before or while shooting. Alcohol, like any other substance, is likely to impair normal mental or physical functions and they must not be used while shooting. Store your firearms so that they're not accessible to an unauthorized person. And you may say, who's an unauthorized person? Well, an unauthorized person is anybody that does not have permission to handle that firearm. And let's think about the firearms at your house, if you have firearms, or ones that you may have. Who's authorized to handle those firearms? What would you do if you were over at a friend's house and they wanted to pull a firearm out and show it to you? Are they authorized to do that? They may be for them, but firearms aren't a toy. And so if I was at a friend's house growing up, I'd always either leave or try to change the subject or do something else, go outside, get an adult involved to show that firearm and not just with the other youth. We're now going to talk a little bit about hygiene and shooting. Shooting and cleaning guns can expose a person to airborne lead particles, powder residue, solvents, and other chemicals. And although casual exposure to these elements is minimal compared to the daily activities and exposures, such as exposure to a household chemical or something, you should still follow certain precautions while you're shooting or after you're done shooting. You need to refrain from eating, drinking, smoking, or placing the hands close to your mouth. And then keep your hands away from your face to prevent ingestion of those lead particles or chemical residue. And this precaution includes refraining from applying a lip balm or a sunscreen or makeup on your face while you're before you wash your hands. And after shooting a gun or cleaning a firearm, you should always wash your hands and face thoroughly with soap and cold water prior to eating and drinking. Otherwise, placing your hands near your mouth, you might get those lead particles in there. And we say cold water because it shrinks the pores in your skin, thus reducing the chance of absorption of those chemicals and particles that aren't good for you. You can also change or wash your clothes as soon as possible after shooting or cleaning the firearm so that possible exposure to the lead particles or solvent residue may be minimized. If you don't practice good hygiene, you just increase your chances of ingesting the lead dust and oils and chemicals from the firearm that are on your hands after shooting. And remember, a scout is clean, so practice good hygiene when shooting. So now we're going to talk a little bit about BB and pellet gun safety. Everything we've talked about so far has been talking about shotguns and rifles and long guns. So you may be thinking, well, I've got a pellet or a BB gun, and these don't apply to me. I can shoot it out in the backyard. Well, if you think about everything that we've talked about, what's one thing that you think may not apply? Well, actually, everything that we've talked about so far and will continue to talk about in these videos apply to a pellet gun and a BB gun. These aren't toys. They shoot projectiles that can ricochet and causing injury and damage. Although they're great to shoot, and they have little to no recoil, and good to practice with, and even you can hunt some small game in Oklahoma with one. So speaking of hunting, there's wildlife biologists have long recognized there's 2 key factors in game management. The first is that wildlife cannot be stockpiled like coal or oil. In any area of land or habitat that only can support a certain number of wild animals. And if a decision is made to have more game in a specific area and it's stocked with additional animals in excess of the biological carrying capacity of the habitat area, what's going to happen? Well, in time, all the animals in excess of the biological carrying capacity of the land will be eliminated through some sort of a natural factor, disease or starvation, other predators. And the second important factor is that wildlife species naturally overproduce each year. And this is so that more young are produced than necessary to continue the species, and more are produced in the habitat area than can support. And these extra animals are lost to disease and starvation and immigration and predation. This is nature's way of making sure that there's enough surviving animals each year for a breeding population that's the strongest strains to survive and reproduce. And so they set hunting regulations that ensure hunters do not take too many animals. And it's far better than hunters should get the healthful outdoor recreation and the meat by harvesting the surplus than to lose these surplus animals to disease or starvation or other natural causes. But without effective natural limiting factors, that'll cause an animal population to grow too large. So if you think about it, in Oklahoma, some of the top 5 hunted animals are, number 5 is going to be a bobcat. Number 4 is turkeys. Number 3 comes in with quail. Number 2 are ducks. And the most hunted animal in Oklahoma is a white-tailed deer. And so on the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife's webpage, which is at wildlifedepartment.com/law/hunting_guide, it's the Oklahoma hunting laws. And if you download this and take a look at it, you'll be able to see different things in this guide. It's going to list, like I said, the hunting laws. It's going to have bag limits, caliber requirements for different types of animals, different hunting hours, legal means of harvest, legal means of take, your hunting seasons. The guide will also list different types of wildlife that can be hunted in Oklahoma and when those can be hunted. So Oklahoma also offers a hunter safety education course that I like to recommend anybody take, whether hunting or not. It's a great course that covers different aspects of hunting and firearm safety. And best of all, it's free if you take it online. So what are some of the shooting sports that you can do with your firearms? Some of the activities that you can take part is the NRA Youth Hunter Education Challenge, or YHEC. You can do Project Appleseed. You can do 4-H shooting sports. Tri-City even has one for youth, and they've got some other events that you can take part in. And then even venturing through BSA 82. We all have a youth shooting sports, and there's multiple things you can do to learn more and get involved in the different shooting sports. So when you get to the range, there's going to be some commands that we're going to talk about. These are not specific to a shooting sports. They're a little bit different for each one, but in general, you're going to have is the line ready is going to be the first range command that you're going to hear. And the range safety officers will ask this question. And if you have a question or need some more time to adjust, this is your time to say no and get that question answered or what you need to do to get adjusted. The next question you're going to hear, or range command you're going to hear, is load. And sometimes load and the third one is ready at the firing line. Sometimes you'll hear those together and sometimes you won't. But load means you go ahead and load your firearm, but you don't shoot it yet. And ready at the fire line is the last command that's given before the command to start firing. And then the fourth command you can hear is commence firing. And this means that you can start shooting and you shoot until all your shots for that round you've done for the group. So there's one more range command that you can hear. And that other range command is cease fire. And cease fire is stated when the relay ends or if there's a problem on the line that needs immediate attention. When you hear the command cease fire, All shooting must stop immediately. And then you wait for your next instructions. You don't do anything else, because it could be, that an animal jumped on the range, and so, hey, cease fire. It clears the range, and then you go back to, and then you hear, okay, continue shooting, continue firing. You can go right back. It could be that somebody's walked up over the berm, and so you don't know what the problem was. So you stop shooting immediately, don't do anything else, and wait for those next instructions. This command is not restricted to the use by the range safety officer. Anybody observing an unsafe situation may and should call a ceasefire. So that's an important one. Anybody can call a ceasefire. So while we're on the range, if you have any questions or problems during the range, what you need to do is you need to stop firing immediately, keep the firearm pointed downrange, and raise your non-shooting hand to signify that you have a problem. And then an RSO will come over and help you out. So there's 3 types of ammunition malfunctions that we may experience while we're out at the range or while you're shooting anything. Those are a misfire, hang fire, and a squib load. And so we're going to talk a little bit about each of these and the cause and how to resolve them. So the first one's going to be a misfire. And a misfire is the failure of the cartridge to ignite when the primer or case rim is struck by the firing pin. And this situation could be caused by a defect in the cartridge, a defect in the firearm. It could be a weak firing, something that's going to cause a weak firing pin hit. And then to resolve it, since we don't know, is this a misfire or it could possibly be a hang fire, which we're going to discuss here in a second. We need to count to 30 and keep the firearm pointed in a safe direction. Keep control of that firearm. And once you get to 30, you can go ahead and open the chamber and eject that round and clear the malfunction. So you want to check to make sure that there's no obstructions in your bore. If it's a hang fire is the perceptible delay in the ignition of a cartridge after the primer or case rim has been struck by the firing pin. And this delay may last several seconds. And so kind of like the misfire for the hang fire, what you're going to have to do is keep the firearm pointed in a safe direction. Make sure you maintain control of it. And in that safe direction for at least 30 seconds before the action is open to remove the cartridge. Because a hang fire will turn into a misfire, but you don't want a misfire that you popped out to turn into a hang fire. And the third type is a squib load. Squib load is a cartridge developing less than normal pressure or velocity upon ignition. And what it does is it causes the bullet to fail to exit the muzzle and get lodged in the bore. And you can see from the picture there that the bullet has left the casing, but it's not left the bore. So this third type of malfunction, what you do is it's caused, you'll have reduced noise, maybe a reduced muzzle flash, a little less recoil, something doesn't feel right, it doesn't sound right. And so when this happens, you have to stop firing immediately. After, safely open the action after 30 seconds. Just make sure that it wasn't a hang fire or a misfire that you had. Check that bore for obstructions again. If the bore is obstructed because the bullet did not leave the bore, don't shoot another round through it thinking that second bullet's going to knock that first bullet out. It could cause serious injury and damage to the gun or you or any bystanders. So it's important to take proper care of your firearm through preventative maintenance. The firearm should be cleaned and lubricated at the end of each shooting session. The firearm must always be checked to ensure that it's unloaded. And make sure when you're cleaning it that there's never any ammunition present while you're cleaning your firearm. We're going to go through the basic steps of how to clean a firearm in this video. But once you come out to camp and shoot, once you're done shooting, we'll take you off to the side to a safe area, and we will walk you through and help you clean the firearm before the next scout uses it. So when you clean your firearm, there's 6 basic materials that are needed to clean these firearms. It's a cleaning rod with attachment or a bore snake, some cloth patches, bore solvent, gun oil, a soft cloth, and a small brush. And I like to say that there's 7. I always like to have some sort of a non-latex gloves to help keep my hands clean, but that's not required to clean. But just remember when you're done cleaning that you always wash your hands. So the first step when you're cleaning the firearm, you got to keep the firearm pointed in a safe direction and ensure that firearm is loaded and there's no ammunition around. And there's several people that get shot by accident every year because they don't make sure the firearm is unloaded before cleaning it. And also by not following the 3 always rules. And ensure that there's no ammunition anywhere around when you clean the firearm, as the solvents could damage the unused ammunition and then cause one of those malfunctions that we had talked about just a little bit ago. When you clean the bore, you'll run the brush down through there. You'll want to put a little bit of bore solvent or some sort of solvent on the brush or patch before you run it down the bores, so it's not going down there dry. And then if you do a patch, as you push the patch through, take the patch off, never pull the patch back through the barrel. And you'll want to do this 2 or 3 times with the patch or the jag, the brush there, to break down the chemicals or the lead residue that's left and powder residue that's left to clean the inside of the barrel. The next thing you'll do is you'll want to oil the bore. You'll run a patch down through it with some oil on it, and that way it will help prevent the firearm and the barrel becoming rusted. You'll also want to flush the action and any bolts or anything removable parts, and scrub those and clean those. Make sure the action's clean. And then you'll want to lubricate any of your moving parts. And you can see here that they're lubricating around the trigger and the bolts and the hammers. And once you're done, you're going to wipe all the exposed metal parts with a lightly oiled cloth to help reduce the chance that it's going to rust. And then when you're also, before you put it up, make sure you handle it by the stock so your fingerprints don't pull the oil off and then cause where you remove that oil with your fingers to rust on the barrel and stuff like that. And then remember to wash your hands when you're done cleaning the firearm. So this is the end of the video for video 1. You can proceed now to video 2 for the rifle shooting merit badge, or video 3 for the shotgun shooting merit badge. And remember, if you have questions before you arrive at Camp and Shoot, you can always send us an email at crew82.norman@gmail.com, and we'll get those answered and get back to you as soon as we possibly can. Thanks and have a good day.